I have a story for you. So I'm in 11th grade and I teach religious education classes for kids in kindergarten all the way through 10th grade. A few weeks ago, actually coincidentally enough, on the first Monday of anti-bullying week, I was teaching a class of 8th graders. Just to refresh your memory, 8th grade is when you are the oldest people in the middle school, so you are pretty close to, if not the coolest thing in the world, or at least you think so. So we were talking about Lent. I was running a small discussion group of 8th grade boys, and we were talking about Lent, the meaning of Lent, and how the purpose of Lent isn't to give something up or not eat meat on Fridays, it's to do something that makes you better as a person. So we were going around our circle and we were saying, I was getting pretty standard answers like, oh, I'm gonna try to go to church more, or not fight with my brother, or eat less junk food, until I got to one boy. Now this boy had been sitting for the entire class sulking with like his head down. He looked like he would be having more fun running laps around the church in the rain than sitting down in our CCD class. So I knew his answer was going to be awesome, but it really blew me away. He looked me straight in the eyes and completely straightforward, he said, yeah, for Lent, I'm probably going to give up picking on this girl on my bus. That's actually what he said to me. And I responded really sarcastically because I was blown away that he could say that, and I said, wow, that's great. You're going to give up bullying for this 40-day time period. You're just going to take a break from bullying for Lent. And he was offended that I had called what he was doing bullying. He told me, no, I'm not bullying her, I'm picking on her. In case you're confused like he was, those are the same thing. He justified his response, no, it's not bullying, with, it can't be bullying, because 1, she's a new kid, 2, she's from a foreign country, and 3, she doesn't speak English. That's actually what he said to me. So, just to clarify, the fact that she's a new kid doesn't make it not bullying, it actually makes it more so bullying because she doesn't have someone down the street or sitting next to her to stand up for her when someone picks on her on the bus. And the fact that she's from a foreign country even makes that more so bad because she doesn't have someone down the street, she has someone a full country over. And the fact that she doesn't speak English doesn't really change anything either, because it's pretty easy to detect from the tone of someone's voice if what they're trying to say to you is supposed to be nice or rude. And also a bus full of snickering 8th graders directly following this incomprehensible comment is a pretty good indicator of whether what was said was meant to be friendly or not. Cruelty is pretty easily detected. It doesn't matter your language or gender or anything. It's the tone in your voice. You can tell if someone's trying to be nice to you or not. So all this leads me to the point that I'm trying to make, which is that there is such a lack of empathy. And empathy is the ability to and the action of understanding, respecting, and being sensitive to the situation, feelings, and motives of another person. And I truly believe that the lack of empathy in our society is a progressive problem. I think if you went back any number of years ago, you would notice a significantly higher amount of empathy than you see today. And it's not just in 8th grade boys. You can see it everywhere from, say, 4-year-olds going off to preschool that have no concept of the fact that taking a toy away from another 4-year-old and seeing them cry is not okay, all the way to fully grown adults who have the audacity to judge other fully grown adults on the way that they raise their kids or live their lives without taking into consideration the struggles that someone might be facing. So one of my favorite quotes is, never underestimate the pain of a person, because in all honesty, everyone is struggling. Some people are just better at hiding it than others. And I think Will Smith said it, but I wouldn't quote me on that. But the reason I like this quote is because it's true. We all have something that we're struggling with, and it could be something small, and it could be something enormous, and it's all about the way that the person responds to it, or the way that they project it to everyone else. I also really hate when you hear someone complain about something, and someone else responds to their complaint with, oh, but someone has it worse. And I can understand if you were to say that to, say, a Burlington High School student who is complaining about the way that their iPad functions, that you would mention to them that, hey, some schools struggle to feed all of their students. So the fact that you're complaining about the way that your iPad functions, mind you, the iPad that your school gave you for free, free seems a little bit ridiculous. But when it comes to the pain of a person who confides in you to share their pain with you, you should never belittle their confiding in you by saying, oh, but someone has it worse. Even though it's entirely true, someone always has it worse. You shouldn't try to shut someone up when they try to trust you with something about themselves. You should try to be empathetic to them and make them feel better about it. So our TED Club meets on Mondays after school, and a couple Mondays ago, we were doing a Google Hangout with a couple of brilliant middle schoolers from Hershey, Pennsylvania. This is a couple of them. They're really smart. And their teacher's name is Joanne Delaney. And in our Google Hangout, we were talking about what we were going to do for our TED Talks, what our ideas were. We were just bouncing them off each other. And when I presented mine, the teacher called me back to the screen and said that I should watch a talk that a high schooler from Hershey did. That's her in the top corner. Her name is Alex Shapiro. Her talk was sort of like mine. She talked about how Hershey is looked at as this picture-perfect town, but she personally, and she knew of her classmates, had these secrets and struggles that they had to deal with, and it sort of drew away from the fact that they lived in this picture-perfect town. So what she did was she had a bunch of her classmates come to her house and write down a secret or struggle that they have to deal with that nobody knows about them, and they held it up over their face and took a picture, and she strung them all together in a video, and it was a really moving video, partially because she put it in the back of a awesome John Mayer song, and partially because you could see that there were all these people that had these genuine struggles that they had to deal with. So I wanted to do a similar thing with my classmates and friends and peers, and tie it to the fact that there's a lack of empathy, and you truly never know what someone might have to be dealing with, so you should always be empathetic to them. So this is the result of my video. I'll never be knight in armor without sword, or kamikaze fighter. Don't count on me. Storm the barricades and take a stand. Hold my ground. You never see any scars or wounds. Had to walk on coals. I won't walk on water. I am no prince. I am no saint. I am not anyone's wildest dream, but I will stand behind and make someone to fall back on.
need another story, something to get off my chest. My life gets kinda boring, need something that I can confess.
So about 40 people came to my house to participate in this thing, and you might notice that there's a couple more than 40 pictures, and that's because aside from a few that I had to take out because they were kind of inappropriate and I didn't want to project them onto the stage, I didn't put a limit on the number of secrets or struggles that people could share. And the reason I didn't put a limit is because some people would come in and they would write down a sort of small, not too personal secret, and they would take the picture, and the feeling of sitting in a room with the lights off and just you and the flash of the camera and truly no one knowing what your secret is was like this comforting way for kids to get stuff off their chest. And they would do their small secret and they would come back and write down maybe a bigger, more personal secret. And I'm really glad that I provided kids that I know with this outlet, because even if I hadn't made it into a video, they got this chance to sort of tell someone something that they were struggling with without actually having to come out and say it, because I'm a teenager. I know how hard it is to talk about your feelings. So it was like a way to get something off your chest without actually having to make yourself vulnerable. So I think that's awesome that I provided that outlet. So quick side note, I swear it's relevant. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that all of you have seen the movie The Breakfast Club. If not, I'm going to be the first TED Talk ever to assign homework because you need to see it. Half because it's a fantastic movie, and half because even though it came out in 1985, I think, it's still the most relevant thing ever. If you haven't seen it, just quick background, it's about 5 totally different kids who end up in Saturday morning detention for 5 totally different reasons. This is them. So really quickly, this is Claire Standish. She is the princess. Behind her is Brian Johnson, the brain, Andrew Clark, the athlete, Allison Reynolds, the basket case, and John Bender, the criminal. And basically, they start off their day by arguing the entire time and totally not getting along at all, and then they transition completely to the other end of it, and by the end of the day, they're sitting in the library, the best of friends, sharing not only the reasons why they got into Saturday morning detention, but additional struggles that they have to deal with in their personal lives. So really quick, Claire's struggle is that she is very popular and has to struggle with never being able to have an opinion of her own. She always has to follow what her friends are doing. John, the criminal over there, his struggle is pretty much completely the opposite. He's not spoiled, rotten like Claire at all. He seems tough and cool and like a criminal, but it's only because he is the direct product of extremely alcoholic and abusive parents. The basket case, Allison Reynolds, is another fully different thing because she claims that everyone around her, her classmates, her family members, every single person completely ignores her. She's just totally invisible. And Andrew Clark, the athlete, who is this incredible athlete, but is literally pressured into bullying students at his school by his own father, who claims that he will accept nothing but the best, and you need to be perfect in your sports, nothing else. And finally, Brian Johnson, the brain. So Brian seems to have the least drastic of all of the struggles out of the whole group. His problem that he shares with the group is that he is your stereotypical nerd. He's really concerned with his grades, and his parents are hard on him so that he gets good grades. And you would think by first glance that he has the least drastic out of all the problems of the kids there. But you find out at the end of the movie that Brian is in Saturday morning detention because the school found a gun in his locker. And there was a gun in his locker because he planned to kill himself because he didn't have straight A's. And I think this ties back to my theme really clearly, because out of all these people, you would think it would be easy to put it in, just put it on a scale and say, well, he clearly has the worst, and he clearly has it the easiest. But you don't know how the struggle of a person affects them personally, or how near or far that specific person's breaking point is. And it's not okay to say, well, I don't think that's that bad. You should say, well, beginning here. I was going to say that you think it would be easy to just put things on a scale and judge which one would be worse. But the reason I'm up here is to tell you that you should never judge which struggle of a person is worse, because you truly don't know. We're all so different. We all have such different struggles. All of us are able to come up here or write down your secret. We all have something that we're dealing with, but you can't put them on a scale. You can't judge like how bad it is, because you just don't know how bad it is for that specific person. So my final comment is that you may think it would be easy, but it's not. And we're humans. We're inherently bad at being empathetic to each other, but we really need to work on it. It's going to be a challenge, but we need to develop and work on developing the ability to understand, respect, and share, be sensitive to the feelings and emotions and motives and everything